High tech, low tech, or no tech. Through our hobbies and our passions, the geek comes out in us all.
The world's of geekdom.
I am a geek and I'm proud of it.
Geeks.
Geeks unite.
Well, let's get those nerds! Nerds! No!
Did you just call me a nerd?
Not all geeks are nerds.
Yeah.
This is Geek Therapy Radio.
What are we waiting for?
And now your mental curator, Johnny Hemberger.
Welcome to Geek Therapy Radio. I'm your mental curator, Johnny Hemberger, as always. And I'm twitching my britches. One more time, I've said that the past few shows, twitching my britches. We're going to talk about the Atari VCS in this segment. We're going to talk about Intel Optane memory in its RAM stick form, DDR4 RAM stick form, coming up in the next segment. And then we're going to talk about Street Fighter 30th Anniversary Edition. I am super stoked about that. But first, I want to tell you, if you're listening to the podcast, you can see below in the description timestamps for the show. So let's say you don't want to listen to me talk about a certain topic. You want to skip to another topic. I've put this timestamps right there. All you got to do is slide the slider to the timestamps. It's beautiful like that. I do that because I love you, because you're my geeks. And I love you. I'm not quite in love with you. But who am I kidding? I am in love with you. Let's talk about the Atari VCS. Let's talk about why my britches have been twitching. This is specs and speculation on the Atari VCS because it's not out yet. It gets released. Hopefully it'll start shipping late spring, early summer, July 2019. It is smashed through its Indiegogo crowdfunding goals. It is currently at about $2.2 million. It's happening, and it's coming out about this time next year. As I'm recording this in early summer 2018, we should have it early summer 2019. So let's get into some specs and speculation and what I think it's going up against in the market. So quick specs. 4 gigabytes of RAM, 32 gigabytes of built-in eMMC memory, not the fastest in the world, but it's really good enough for a console. Really, the horsepower is going to come from the AMD APU. So the CPU side of it is a Bristol Ridge A10. That tells you that's an APU. And the GPU built into the APU is the Radeon R7. So it's got enough horsepower for some 4K gaming and definitely 4K content consumption. It's shipping with a ton of original Atari games on it. It's not quite, but it's different from, let's say, the SNES Classic or the NES Mini or anything like that. It's not just a nostalgia box. Atari has teamed up with several video game studios, several creator studios. It's going to have original games and online gaming once again from Atari. Well, we've never had online gaming in the past, but now we do. In fact, the Atari VCS, in addition to a bunch of USB ports for external storage or external third-party joysticks or whatever you want to hook up to it, has an Ethernet jack. Ethernet. Physical wire for online gaming. That tells me, and that should tell you, that they're serious about this as being an online gaming platform, and I'm super stoked. So let's get into my speculation on it. I've gone over some of the meaty specs, the specs you really need to know about. Let's get into some speculation. The Atari VCS starts at $200 right now, in between $200 and $300, which undercuts the PlayStation and the Xbox currently. Currently, it undercuts as time of recording. Needless to say, regardless, at $200, what is its direct competition? If it's undercutting and if it's cheaper than the big dogs, Sony, Xbox, and of course a gaming PC, what's it going up against? The NVIDIA Shield TV. I have the NVIDIA Shield TV, and it is awesome. I love it. So to me, that's the Atari VCS's direct competition. I think it's going to do great, though. So far, It looks awesome. It looks like the old 2600, but more modern. It looks really, really cool. The hardware specs are pretty beefy. I'm not sure how it's going to stack up against the Tegra X1 inside of the NVIDIA Shield TV, but it will probably be similar. The UI that they're showing right now, again, I don't have this right now. As of time of recording, it's not out yet. I can't review it yet. But as soon as I can, I'll let you know. The UI looks really cool. The user interface is like retro, modern. Like, it's really, really cool looking. So I'm super stoked. With that, there's way more Geek Therapy Radio coming up, so stick around. Don't go anywhere. We'll be back in just one moment. Hadouken! Welcome back to Geek Therapy Radio. Johnny Hemberger, mental curator, and I am twitching, quaking, twitching my britches because Street Fighter 30th Anniversary Edition has come out finally as of May 29th for the Switch, PC, Xbox, and PS4. And that chat bullshit. I'm throwing fireballs in my britches. Sarah can tell you all about that. Farts. Anyways, yeah, Street Fighter 30th Anniversary Edition has come out, and I'm going home tonight after I'm recording this, and I am downloading it because I've been waiting for it forever. It's been my wish list forever, and by forever I mean a normal amount of time for any other person, but I've been super excited about it. Street Fighter 30th Anniversary Edition, which just, I remember when 20th Anniversary Edition came out way back mid-2000s, I believe. It was Third Strike and Super Street Fighter 2, I think, on one disc. I had it on PS2. And it had special, like, limited edition joysticks you could get for it. So I was all about it. I collected the Ken joystick, I collected the Ryu joystick, and I kept the Ryu joystick in the box and only used the Ken joystick. And I still have those boxes in storage somewhere. It was a 6-button pad. And joystick's not the right word, maybe. Gamepad. Subsequently, I bought a handful of fight sticks. I have a fight stick for the PS3. I've got a fight stick for the old Xbox 360. I've got a fight stick for PC / well, you can plug it into basically anything, but I bought it for the PC, and that's the one I actually had modified. I modified it with I want to say Hosa. It's Sanwa buttons, Sanwa joystick, and I put a circle gate in there because I prefer circle gates. It really depends on what fighter you choose, but I'm a circle gate guy. I don't tend to use a whole ton of charge characters, in which case a square gate is more applicable. Square gate is usually what the arcades are. You can use any gate, and by gate, to the layperson who doesn't know what I'm talking about, picture you walk up to an arcade machine and it has the joystick sticking out, either the ball on top, it looks like a gumball on top. It's how you move your character around the screen, or it can be a bat style, which is kind of like a little baseball bat. It starts out thin and then goes to wide as it gets toward the top. That's what I prefer. And the gate is if you roll that stick around to move the character, the gate is how it's notched. So a square gate it's a square. You can only move that joystick around in a square, edge to edge in a square. Knock, duck, duck, duck. Just in a square like that. You can also get a octogate. Do you call it an octogate? That's what I call it, octogate, which is basically 8 sides instead of 8 corners instead of 4 corners that you get in a square gate. So an 8-sided gate or octagate has 8 corners, and that's kind of a mix between square gate and the circle gate. And if you haven't figured it out yet, or haven't guessed it, circle gate is not an ongoing investigation against circles. In this case, the circle gate is that movement of that joystick in a complete circle. There are no edges. It's completely free 360 degrees, which if you use a character in Street Fighter that's a charge character, like for instance Blanca or Chun-Li has some charge moves, just any character that uses charge moves, and by charge moves I mean you hold back for 2 seconds forward in a punch, or back for 2 seconds forward in a kick, or down for 2 seconds up in a kick for Chun-Li to do spinning bird kick. A square gate is more suitable for that, for those charge characters. Shotos, like Ken and Ryu and Akuma and Oni and arguably Dudley and others, can use square gates as well. But since most of their moves rely on half circles or quarter circles, like a Hadouken is down, forward, and then forward and punch, that's not 3 separate things you got to do. It's just raking the stick from the bottom position to the quarter circle right position, just rolling it to that position. For me, a circle gate is way better suited to Shoto characters, and they're called Shoto because it's just kind of jargon within the fighting game community. Shoto meaning Shotokan karate. I'm not sure that's what Ryu and Ken studied. Their characters studied, but they're called Shotos. There's Shotos and there's charge characters. And what's the other? There's some characters that are a blend, or like Zangief is a grab characters, grappler. In which case also a circle gate works best for a grabber, a grappler, an appler. I'm just being silly now. But no, so Street Fighter Anniversary 30th edition, Street Fighter 30-year anniversary edition. I think that's what it's called. It's come out. Since I'm such a stupid sucker and a schmuck. Actually, as I'm saying this, I kind of take it back. I was just going to say, since I'm a schmuck, I'm probably going to buy it for 2 systems. Probably going to buy it off of Steam for PC, and probably going to buy it on the Nintendo Switch. But as I was saying that, I'm probably only going to do it for the Nintendo Switch. But we'll see. We'll see how the online experience is for the Switch. I don't imagine it's going to be very good, because the Switch relies on Wi-Fi. And, that's, if you're right next to your 5 gigahertz router, that's not really a big issue. But I'm kind of a purist when it comes to fighting games. At least if I'm doing it competitively. You can't. Lag is the enemy. So we'll see how well it transitions to Switch. By all accounts so far, and again, I'm downloading it tonight. By all accounts so far, it's been pretty good. The online matchmaking for Switch, it's hard to tell over it's only been a couple days, but the netcode involved there can be, apparently, it's a mixed bag as to what kind of match you're going to get as far as the quality of the connection. Apparently it can be some laggy, apparently some lags, apparently there can be some drop frames, but we'll see. And that's something that can improve, especially as, well, not only updates to the software, not updates to the netcode that connects players for online matches, but as the user base builds, as you get more connection options, as more people buy the game and connect the game and get online with the game near you. So, let's say that there's not many people are buying the game, which is not going to happen. There's going to be a lot of people buying this game. And I'll explain all the games that come in a second. But as more people buy it, that means that me here in Houston, I'm not only connecting sparsely with people out on the West Coast or somebody up in New Jersey. That means that more people in Houston will have the game, so I can connect to people closer to me, more locally around Texas, more locally around the region. So as more people buy the game, the quality of the online play is just going to get better. Although there's no way the Nintendo Switch is ever going to be used in any competitive competition. You're not going to go to EVO and see people playing Street Fighter 3 Third Strike on a Nintendo Switch. That's not happening. They're going to be playing it on a console, probably PS4 or Xbox. I think it's been Xbox. I think that's officially what it's been in Evo. Somebody correct me if I'm wrong in the comments below if you're listening on the podcast or wherever you're listening to this. Comment below. What do they use? What's the official console they use for Evo? What are they playing Street Fighter V on? I think Street Fighter V only came out console-wise for the PS4. Unless I'm just brain farting. Unless I'm just brain Hadoukening straight through my jeans. What games came on Street Fighter? I keep wanting to call it Street Fighter 3. It's not Street Fighter 3. It's Street Fighter 30-year anniversary edition. The games are all the Street Fighter 2 games. So it's also Street Fighter 1. Which I agree, you're going to play once and then never play again because Street Fighter 1 is terrible. It is just the worst. So Street Fighter 30th Anniversary Collection includes the original Street Fighter, Street Fighter 2, Street Fighter 2 Champion Edition, Street Fighter 2 Hyper Fighting, Super Street Fighter 2, Super Street Fighter 2 Turbo, Street Fighter Alpha, Street Fighter Alpha 2, Street Fighter Alpha 3, Street Fighter 3, Street Fighter 3 Second Impact, and Street Fighter 3 Third Strike. And yes, when you rattle all off together, the naming scheme does seem kind of laborious, if I may say so. It's important to note, however, that all of these games are arcade perfect ports. Yes, they're obviously being emulated, but they're being emulated perfectly from the arcade, including all the arcade glitches, which I won't really get into here because I don't know about a ton off the top of my head. But the point is that these are ports from the arcade. They are arcade perfect ports. It's not Street Fighter 2 ported from the Super Nintendo. It's not Super Street Fighter 2 Turbo ported from the 3DO, even though the 3DO port of Super Street Fighter 2 Turbo was the best available at the time and still arguably one of the best ports ever. 3DO did not do well. 3DO went bankrupt. That's why a lot of people haven't played Super Street Fighter 2 Turbo on the 3DO. Anyways, all the games, arcade perfect ports of the Street Fighter franchise. Oh, what was I going to say about that? There's tons of extra content included here. Tons, like conceptual sketches of the game. There's all sorts of history of the game, biographies and concept art. And 4 of the games, I believe it's Super Street Fighter 2 Turbo, Street Fighter Alpha 3, Street Fighter 3 Third Strike, and what's the other one I'm missing? I think it's Street Fighter 2 Hyper Fighting, or Super Street Fighter 2. There's 4 of them that are actually allow online matches. You don't want to play the first Street Fighter 1 online. There's no point. When I mean it's tragically bad. It is such a bad game. Street Fighter 2. I would say, why didn't they allow Street Fighter 2 to online, put an online mode for the original Street Fighter 2? Well, that purists would say that the best version of competitive Street Fighter 2 iteration is Super Street Fighter 2 Turbo, because that's the last of the Street Fighter 2 series, and it introduces the turbo meter, the super meter, allowing for super combos, and it's just, people still play Super Street Fighter 2 Turbo competitively today. Like, it's still in active competition. People aren't really playing the original version of Street Fighter 2 in active competition. For one thing, in the original Super Street Fighter 2, you can't have mirror matches. It can't be Ryu versus Ryu, or Ryu versus Ryu. Can't be Ken versus Ken. Can't be Chun-Li versus Chun-Li. So, while it's nostalgic to play that version of the game, it's not being played competitively anymore. What else to say about it? It's about $40 all across the board on the Switch, on the PS4, Xbox 360, and PC. And I am super duper stoked about it. I cannot wait to get off work and go download Street Fighter 30th Anniversary Edition. 30 years of Street Fighter. God bless Capcom. I love Capcom. People hate on Capcom so much, but that's a debate for another segment, which I'm not going to get into on this show. Stick around. There's more Geek Therapy Radio to come. You know what I'm going to say. Go like, follow, subscribe, all the Geek Therapy social media stuff. I'm on YouTube, of course, but I'm also now on Twitch. So go subscribe on Twitch and Vimeo. You can catch the videos on Vimeo, YouTube, and twitch.tv. So go subscribe there too, in addition to Facebook, Instagram, and Geek Therapy KPRC on Twitter. Yeah, we'll be right back. Welcome back to Geek Therapy Radio. Mental curator Johnny Hemberger back with you. I've got some news that will just blow the minds of PC enthusiasts everywhere. PC enthusiasts, PC gamers, people who use their PCs for work, or video editors, or graphic editors, photo editors, anybody who's a power user of a PC. Not just for browsing Facebook, not just for typing Word documents, but although those lighter users will notice this technological development as well, I think it will be even more appreciated by those of us who are more hardcore users of the platform. Intel has officially announced its Optane memory DDR4. Well, it's not DDR4. It's Optane memory that fits in a DDR4 RAM slot. This has major implications in the PC universe. This is literally a game changer if you're a PC gamer. These RAM sticks, I shouldn't call them RAM sticks, they're just in the form of a RAM stick, and they do fit into a DDR4 slot. These have such monstrous capacities as of right now, 128 gigabytes, 256 gigabytes, and 512 gigabytes on a RAM stick. Right now, I bet you in your PC, you're probably still rocking a few 4 gigabyte sticks, or maybe a couple 8 gigabyte sticks. If you're true baller status, you've got 16 gigabyte sticks or 32 gigabyte sticks. So let's just say, on average, the highest amount of RAM you can get in a single stick of RAM is let's just say it's 16 gigabytes. I know you can go up to 32, but mainstream, let's just say it's 16 gigabytes per stick. With Intel Optane, now that capacity jumps to baseline of 128 gigabytes. Only the most baller systems on Earth, as far as home users are concerned, the prosumer is concerned, has 128 gigs of RAM in the entire PC. That means all slots filled with RAM sticks, you're up to 128 gigabytes. If you are just a true prosumer baller status. That's if you're a gamer and a heavy content creator. Now, with Intel Optane, that single stick will start at 128 gigabytes. That means 128 gigs in one slot, 128 gigs in another slot. Let's use a better example. Let's say you buy the 512 gigabyte stick. That's 512 gigs in one slot. Let's say you've got 4 slots. Let's say you're a baller and you've got 8 RAM slots in your PC. Each of those populated by a 512 gigabyte stick of RAM, basically. What's 8 times 5? That's 4 terabytes or something? Just off the top of my head, am I being dumb? Isn't it 4 terabytes of RAM? Terabytes? Holy crap, on a stick. Now, of course, there's some caveat with this. This is only going to be for the newest of the newest Xeon platforms, next generation Xeon platforms. There's also possibly the biggest benefit to this new technology is that it's persistent memory, which means normally the way normal random access memory works is that your hard drive or your solid state drive offloads memory onto the RAM sticks, and the RAM uses it temporarily to run your program. So when you open Microsoft Word, it's throwing Microsoft Word into your random access memory, and then it's displaying it on the screen, basically, because it's a much faster interface between the CPU and the software. If we didn't have RAM, it would be a major bottleneck, even on a solid state drive, to run programs and have the CPU only talking to your main storage drive. I'm sorry for random listeners that if this is getting a little bit too heady, but hopefully I'm explaining it correctly. When you open a program, let's say you open up Facebook, or you open up a web browser to look at Facebook, the reason why there's a little bit of a lag in there is that your storage drive, your hard drive or your solid state drive is offloading, is sending that program onto the RAM, and then the RAM is talking to the processor in running the program. So with this new Intel Optane memory, it's persistent memory, meaning that when you load a program on there, it doesn't offload that program or erase that program as soon as you close the program. For as of now, let's say, again, you open your web browser, you open your Chrome or your Firefox or your Microsoft Edge or your Internet Explorer. As of now, when you close it, it gets it out of the RAM. It's not there anymore, meaning if you wanted to open it again, it's got to load the program into the RAM again and then open the program. More or less. What persistent memory means is that when you close that program, it's still on your RAM. Still there, still remembers. The program is still there. It's not taking up any overhead, but it's just still there. One of the drawbacks, quote unquote, is that the latency of this random access memory, this persistent Intel Optane memory, is that the latency is a little bit lower. But why? Let me tell you why you shouldn't really be scared of that. The latency is a little bit slower. That's still probably most likely to the average person and even average gamers not going to be perceptible. But it won't matter for this reason. Let's say you're loading up CS:GO, or you're loading up PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds. You're loading up PUBG. And there's that load time. There's that initial load time as it loads a map, as it loads just the front end, as it loads everything, as it loads your avatar, as it loads everything in the game. All the data in the game is being loaded from your storage drive into your RAM. So that's going to happen, as near as makes no difference, just as fast. But here's the difference. Here's the game changer. Your game is in that RAM now, more or less permanently, meaning every time you want to do something else, it's instant. Loading a different screen, loading a different part of the game, loading a different part of the software. It's already all on the RAM. It's all being loaded onto the RAM, and the CPU is just accessing it instantly. It doesn't have to load it every time you want to do something else. It's just instant. What is the main piece of software we use every day that will benefit from this instant access to the software? Your operating system. That means Windows, again, I caveat, more or less is going to be stored in this Intel Optane memory. Random access memory, basically. Persistent memory. It's like a blend between a standard storage and random access memory. You get most of the benefits of random access memory, the speed of the RAM, with the permanent storage of your hard drive or your solid state drive. So when you press the power on your computer, it's not loading the operating system into the RAM anymore, or it does it once, and then that's it. So the first time you boot up your computer, it takes a few seconds to boot into Windows. Next time you boot up your computer from a full shutdown, almost instant. Boom, on your desktop. And if you have a bunch of stuff in your startup menu, like I do, when I log into my work computer, I log into my profile, I automatically have my Microsoft Outlook start. I automatically have our news software starting up, RCS starting up. So I have a few programs starting up. I have Chrome starting up automatically. That means when I log in, I don't press anything, don't touch anything. It's just these programs start popping up as the computer's loading them into the RAM. So now you have all those programs in your start menu with Intel Optane memory. You hit that power button from a cold start, and you load it up, and a second later, it's just on. It's not waking up. It's just on. Everything is just there, ready to go. That is game changing. And right now, of course, it's only coming out for the next generation of Xeon architecture, Xeon processors, Xeon boards. But that's going to trickle down within the next year or two. You know it. To the prosumer market at least. And then from there, another couple years down to consumer. Just the average cheap little $200 laptop PC is going to have this Optane memory, this persistent / random access memory that comes in sticks of 128, 256, and 512. So if you want to be a baller, now your system's not only rocking 32 gigs of RAM or 128 gigs of RAM. You're measuring RAM in terabytes now. That's where we're going. That's what's coming down the pipe in the near future. Maybe someone listening to this and listening to the podcast knows way, way more about this than I do, and they can comment below to clarify anything. That's the beauty of this show. It's to draw knowledge together and draw knowledge from sources that know more than me, that know more than somebody else listening. It's just a collection of minds to help educate each other. I'm really excited about this. This is so cool. When Intel Optane first basically demonstrated the memory, they put it on basically a glorified solid state drive that acted as basically a system cache, as a hard drive cache, as a solid state / optical hybrid type of setup. It was a cache SSD drive, and I was like, what? This is dumb. But I also knew in the back of my head that it was proving a point of what was coming in the future. And oh, it's so cool. It's so cool. Press the power button from a cold boot, and everything's just instantly on. Because when you shut down the computer, it doesn't erase the memory, which is what happens right now. Traditionally, everything in there is still just in there. Windows 10 is in there. Your Apple OS is in there. OS X or what are we on now? What if I don't have a Mac? Operating system is there. Linux is there. Whatever operating system you use. This is so cool. We'll be right back with more Geek Therapy Radio. I'm Johnny Hamburger, mental curator. Social media stuff, just Google it, Geek Therapy Radio, and we'll be right back. Jack. Okay, admittedly, this last segment of Geek Therapy Radio, I'm Johnny Hamburger, by the way, mental curator. Geeks are sexy, by the way. Have you noticed that? Did I tell you? Anyways, this last segment of Geek Therapy Radio is going to be, it might get a little ranty, but just hear me out. And it is aimed towards uppity PC gamers, let's just say. Not only PC gamers, but just PC enthusiasts, period. Because even though it's mid-2018, this point that I'm going to get into has not taken hold still in a lot of you out there. My point is this. Anytime, let's say you go on YouTube or you go on Google or whatever, and you read or watch a review for a new gaming laptop, in the comments below, and it's usually upvoted, a fair amount, which means that this idea is still firmly rooted in at least in a big portion of gamers and PC enthusiast minds. Anytime you watch their review or read a review of a gaming laptop, sure enough, in the peanut gallery, there is a sentiment that just build a gaming desktop. You'll watch a review for a $1,500 or, around there, really good gaming laptop, gaming notebook, and sure enough in the comments, $1,500? Just build a desktop. That's stupid. I'm not saying that you're stupid. I'm saying that it's mid-2018 and that mentality is ancient, outdated, not necessary, and behind the times. First of all, you are missing the point entirely. A gaming laptop is designed to be portable. So whenever I see the comment or someone tells me $1,500 just build a gaming desktop, you're getting a lot more for money. Just build a gaming desktop. Just $1,500. Just build a gaming desktop. You should just tell you build a gaming desktop. No, that idea is dumb. Like I said, you're not dumb, but it's dumb. Put the gaming desktop in your backpack. Don't just put the gaming desktop in your backpack, because I know that you can build a mini ITX build that has a decently powerful GPU, graphics card in there, and have a form factor that will arguably fit in your backpack. It'll be a lunchbox sized device that, yes, technically will fit in your backpack. Okay, great. I'll give you that point. You'll be hard pressed to build any sort of powerful machine like that for less than $1,000. I mean, yes, you can, but you can't. It doesn't matter. You can and you can't. Depends how powerful you want it to be and what you're doing with it. Certainly ain't overclocking anything like that. Anyways, anything that could fit in your backpack, probably not overclocking it. Doesn't matter. Take that little lunchbox build you made, put it in your backpack. Now put your gaming keyboard in there. Put your gaming mouse in there. Oh yeah, and put your monitor in there too. Do you see my point? Do you see the point why it's stupid to complain in gaming laptop reviews that you should just save your money and build a desktop? Put your gaming desktop in your backpack. And I don't mean to sound like such a douchebag, and I know I do right now, but I feel kind of vindicated that I'm able to. You're missing the point. It's a review of a gaming laptop, and the point of the gaming laptop is that it's portable. So stop saying, just build a gaming desktop, $1,500, $2,000. You could build a much better desktop PC for that, a much better gaming PC. You're missing the point. It's a laptop. Now, onto this next point in the same thread. Gaming laptops, as of me recording this in late May, early June 2018, gaming laptops are baller status. In a gaming laptop, you can have up to a GTX 1080, a desktop GTX 1080 in a laptop with a 6-core overclockable i9 processor. You're starting to kiss, and even I saw on Linus Tech Tips the other day, they got it ridiculously up to 5 gigahertz on air in a laptop. An Intel i9, that's nuts. By the way, people complaining about Linus Tech Tips, it dawned on me the other day what Linus Tech Tips is. It's like Top Gear for techies. What they do on that channel isn't always 100%, doable by the viewer, but that's the same formula as Top Gear. It's just fun to watch them do it. So, for instance, in this episode, I'm talking about Linus strapped a very high RPM, very high amperage fan, made a little, makeshift duct out of this fan to blow super concentrated high airflow air into this laptop's vents so that they could overclock it to 5 gigahertz. That's ridiculous. So the comments below, at that point you can't even fit in your backpack. Well, no duh. That's the YouTube comment sections. But back to my point, laptops are so baller status now. I'm going to use the MSI GS65 for example. Hopefully I'll be able to get a demo unit of that. I would love to review that for the show, but we'll see. Anyways, MSI GS65, ultra thin, super lightweight gaming laptop, Intel Core i7, or it might be Core i9. Intel Core i7, 6 cores, 12 threads, and a GTX 1070 Max Q that can be overclocked to full 1070 specs. Max Q variants of GTX video cards are a little bit lower wattage to, heat is everything inside of a small form factor, so they're a little limited in their wattage, but you can overclock it back up to full 1070. So you got effectively a desktop 1070 and, as near as makes no difference, a desktop i7. It's at a reduced TDP, I get that, but it's still 6 cores and 12 threads and around 4.5 gigahertz. Around there, it's above 4 gigahertz. Turbo boost at least. And the screen is 144 hertz refresh rate. That's the bombshell, is that the screen is 144 hertz refresh rate. So, let's recap. GTX 1070, Intel Core i7, 6-core 12-thread, and a screen with a refresh rate of 144 hertz. And you're telling me that doesn't compete with a desktop? You're right. For the same amount of money, you can get more bang for the buck out of your desktop, similarly priced. But you can't put that in your backpack. You can put that GS65 in your backpack and barely feel it. It's just over 4 pounds. That's the point. And that's my point. Stop trying to make the argument that you could get a better value for money if you just build a desktop. You're missing the point. A gaming laptop is portable, and people like me and millions of others want that extra horsepower because we do things like not only just gaming, we do things like video editing, we do things like image altering, we do all sorts of things like that. So having a dedicated GPU, a discrete GPU, and an i7 in something that can just be easily closed up and thrown in your backpack and taken with you. I have a pretty baller gaming setup at home. My HT PC is Intel Core i7. It's a 4790K overclocked to 4.6 gigahertz. It's on a cooler, a hyper. Whatever. Is it a hyper? It's an AIO in a GTX 980. So it's kind of last generation stuff, but by any stretch of the matter, by any stretch of the imagination, it is still quite baller status. The laptop I have in my backpack is an MSI GS43 VR. It's a Core i7, which tops out at about 3.2 gigahertz. That's not that great. And once it really gets cranking on all cores, it goes down to just below 3.1 gigahertz, which is kind of dumb. But it's a full GTX 1060 in there. 16 gigs of RAM. That's all I have in it right now. I can game out my fanny on that thing. And I can beast mode through video editing. I can beast mode through audio production, everything. I love having that horsepower. I don't like having a crappy, cheap laptop in there that chugs through everything and takes forever. So there is a market for power users like me and gamers like me who want a powerful laptop that they can just throw in their backpack and take everywhere. So I have my beast mode PC at home. I have my i7 GTX 1060 laptop in my backpack. I use the laptop 95% of the time. If I'm using a PC, it's my laptop with that 1060 in that i7. Effectively, my baller status gaming PC collects dust. Not really. We watch Netflix with it, and I play PUBG on there sometimes. But 95% of the time, I'm using my gaming laptop. Okay, that's my argument. Stop saying that gaming laptops are a waste of money because it's 2018. They are not anymore. 144 hertz refresh rate screen, GTX 1070 in a 6-core Core i7 / Core i9. They're good now. They are awesome now. And I guarantee you most people listening to this, the laptop I just described and the laptop that's in my backpack, probably just by odds, is probably better than whatever you got. And it's a laptop. It weighs about 4 pounds. It's nothing. So the argument that you should not waste your money on a gaming laptop and just buy a desktop, you're missing the point. Laptops offer all the gaming performance that you'll ever need. all the productivity performance you'll ever need, and you throw it in your backpack. You can't do that with a desktop once you add your monitor and your keyboard, even if you build a small form factor. You're welcome to try. Prove me an idiot. And carry around your big old desktop gaming PC with your monitor and a mechanical keyboard. Go for it. Prove me a fool. I'd love to see those pictures, actually. Email them to me, geektherapy@iheartmedia.com. That's going to do it for this week, my geeks. Remember to be good to each other and be good to yourself. And share my show if you dig it.